Next, Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner find high adventure, big treasure, and lots of danger when they're romancing the stone. Next on Cinemax.
Once upon a time, there was a live comedy show every Saturday night. It was called Your Show of Shows, and it starred Sid Caesar.
You bet your sweet life.
Cinemax pays loving tribute to the man, the show, and the talents behind the brilliance in January's comic relief. First, join Sid Caesar, Imogene Coca, Carl Reiner, and Howard Morris for some of the funniest sketches in history.
Jet propulsion is somewhat like this.
10 from Your Show of Shows. Carl Reiner went on to become one of Hollywood's hottest writer-directors. Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin are perfect foils for his particular kind of lunacy in All of Me.
I think it could work.
Former Show of Shows writer Woody Allen checks in with inspired answers to eternal questions in everything you always wanted to know about sex, but were afraid to ask.
It's most distasteful in view of the fact that the sheep was under 18 years old.
Oh!
Mel Brooks also wrote for Sid Caesar.
Felt like a stone.
Join him for some barely civilized highlights of the history of the world, Part 1. And stand by for action as Peter O'Toole and Joseph Bologna tear up the scenery of a thinly disguised Show of Shows in the uproarious My Favorite Year. You tell him. So catch Sid Caesar and his henchmen in comic relief on Cinemax.
And now, a special bulletin update on the Canadian conspiracy.
There's no such thing as a conspiracy.
Would-be American entertainers that you've grown to know and love are in reality spies for their sneaky and so-called friendly Canadian government.
I know absolutely nothing about any conspiracy.
Well, we do, and we can prove it.
If that show goes on the air, you'll hear from my lawyer.
Oh, yeah?
Do you have a home and a car and a family? Would you like to lose them all? You just put that show on the air.
I suppose you think it's merely a coincidence that Lorne Michaels and Lorne Greene have the same first name.
I answered all the questions as fully as I possibly could, and now you're badgering me.
I was told these questions weren't going to be asked, okay? This is complete.
Not so fast. What's your favorite color?
No comment.
We have this information and we want to be...
No comment.
Okay,
No.
okay.
No
okay.
comment.
I just want to finish telling people about the show.
No comment.
Look, I'm okay,
No.
okay. Whew. The Canadian Conspiracy. Tomorrow on the Cinemax Comedy Experiment.
In the not-too-distant future,
Pasta will be al dente in exactly 2 minutes, 17 seconds.
robots have taken on man's more menial tasks. Some seem so human, they're like part of the family.
This is a weeknight. Tomorrow is a school day.
I know, Lois.
Hey, Bobby. Lois is right. Dead.
But now that's all in the past.
709 and 5th and Sumter.
709.
It means people have died.
A maniac's reprogramming has turned household help into soulless assassins. Simple bullets are transformed into heat-seeking missiles that can't miss. And this cop's life has become a death trap that can spring shut in the blink of an eye.
He's killed 5 so far. I want him.
Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons star in the sci-fi adventure Runaway. Tomorrow on Cinemax.
And now, Cinemax takes you behind the scenes for a look at the man and his music. Carl Perkins, the man behind the blue suede shoes.
I had watched this couple that could really get into it. I mean, and they was getting some guitar licks out of me that I hadn't played before because I watched their feet. I mean, they could go. This boy said to the beautiful girl, don't step on my suedes.
At 2 o'clock that morning in 1955, Carl Perkins had a song on his mind.
And I thought of the old nursery rhyme, and I jumped out of that bed, hit them concrete steps, and downstairs I sat with my guitar, and I said, 1 for the money, clung, clung, 2 for the show, clung, clung, 3 to get ready.
Now go, cat, go, but don't you step on my blue suede shoe.
Exactly 30 years after he wrote Blue Suede Shoes, Carl was making musical history again. This time with the royalty of rock sitting in.
He gave us a lot, you know, when we were younger. A lot of fun and happiness.
Well, I can say he's like an oak tree, a musical oak tree.
strong and firmly rooted.
Fabulous, I mean, because he was our hero.
Now they were all gathered in the studio with other rock luminaries like Dave Edmunds and Roseanne Cash for the taping of a Cinemax exclusive concert. And this was to be a rompin' stompin' session worthy of a hero. They were celebrating Carl's music, that music called Rockabilly, music that emerged from the legendary Sun Recording Studio in Memphis, Tennessee. Through these doors walked four young men eager to make a name for themselves. Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash, and a truck driver named Elvis Presley. Dubbed the $1 Million Quartet, their rockabilly music grabbed young America by the feet. And maybe that was because, as Carl says, rockabilly set the white man's lyric to the black man's rhythm.
What I did and how I started was just being a mixed-up little country boy in a cotton field with a lot of black people that sang that spirited music. I'm gonna lay down my burdens on home down by the riverside. Being raised in the country, my dad liked nothing but country music. I liked them too, but I got mixed up with that rhythm. I'd get my little old guitar down and I'd do, oh, what a beautiful thought, Lord, I'm thinking. My dad'd say, boy, it ain't right. You're doing it too fast.
That rockabilly sound, twanging guitars, slapping bass, and downright irresistible beat might have been born in the cotton fields of Tennessee, but it felt right at home when it reached England.
Really, we were starving for that kind of music, and whatever music that we could hear from America.
Which wasn't easy in Liverpool at the time. You know, we were lucky it was a port, and the sailors used to bring in a lot of records.
There was nothing like it in this country. All we had was sort of watered-down versions or pop music, and then suddenly there was blue suede shoes and electric guitars. It was all over.
Carl first met his British admirers in the mid-60s, just as the Beatles were launching a British invasion of rock and roll. They were singing his songs.
And I used to get one track an album. Before the boys started writing the song especially for me, I would find a song that I would like to do, also within my range, you know, the range of a flea. And
that first meeting was clearly a case of mutual admiration.
You know, we were all young, and we were just so knocked out to meet him. But at that time, we'd had some success of our own, and so he was also, it turned out, pleased to meet us too, and I couldn't believe it. I offered him a cigarette, and he said, do you mind if I don't smoke it and save it as a souvenir? I just I was almost in tears. It was a bit too much. You know, being a kid and a big fan of his.
The kids who were once his fans are now his fellow performers, and right up there on the same stage rocking.
For everything that we may have lifted from him or used or adapted for our own purposes, now we can finally say thank you.
And the man can play.
Here we go, player.
Rockabilly is a type of music. If it don't make you, and if your foot don't move off that floor, then you ain't gonna like it. Somebody out there liked it 30 years after they said it wouldn't last. It's still rocking.
Join Carl Perkins and friends for an unforgettable rockabilly session. It's a Cinemax exclusive concert event this month.
We have come for our horse.
The danger returns.
You can't tag him now!
The challenge returns.
I know where the black is going, and I'm going after him.
The courage returns.
Black!
The daring returns. The greatest adventure of all time returns as the race of a lifetime. A magical, mystical motion picture. The Black Stallion returns.
Margot Kidder's on vacation in quiet Malta. But in a trench coat?
I'm going to play detective.
Certainly sounds fishy.
I sort of feel like some bouillabaisse.
Before she can say, psst, she'll have you believing things like...
Someone tried to kill me. I got kidnapped. I can't leave the country, and the cops won't help me.
What about him?
That's not the man I killed.
And Robert Hayes.
Dropped a contact lens.
And Princess Aida.
Surprise.
Trench coat. Catcher.
January celebrates master filmmaker Stanley Kubrick and the debut of our new series, Director's Chair on Cinemax.
You are invited.
Beginning with Kubrick's controversial masterpiece.
Just great.
Malcolm McDowell stars in the chilling tale of a violent futuristic world.
I only know I want to be good.
It's the critically acclaimed A Clockwork Orange. Then one of the most visually stunning movies of all time.
I'll do the best I can, sir.
Ryan O'Neal and Marissa Berenson star in the lyrical and elegant version of William Thackeray's novel.
I never saw a lad more game in my life.
The Academy Award-winning Barry Lyndon. And then the ultimate horror film returns.
Wendy, I'm home.
Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall give an unforgettable performance.
Here's Johnny.
In Stephen King's terrifying tale brought to life in The Shining.
They'll love it.
It's a month with a master as we focus on 3 great films from director Stanley Kubrick right here on Cinemax.
It was history in the making when Roseanne Cash joined her dad's old buddy Carl Perkins and his friends for a foot-stomping Rockabilly reunion exclusively for Cinemax. Roseanne talked about what it was like growing up with the granddaddy of Rockabilly.
His personal influence was greater than his musical influence in the beginning because I knew him from the time I was a small child. Because he and my dad were friends and were working together, and he was just always around. We used to call him Uncle Daddy. When I was in my teens and early 20s, I started realizing how great he was. And he was on the road with my dad, and me and my sister would stand backstage and do doo-wop while he was singing Blue Suede Shoes. He's great. Dave Edmonds and I have known each other for a few years, and then Carl and I have been, friends for almost my whole life. And then I was a Beatles fan from day one, and I've always admired George Harrison and Ringo Starr. And then, so all of these guys together, I mean, it's almost overwhelming. Before I came over here, my husband says, "You are going to come home, aren't you?"
Catch Roseanne Cash in an unforgettable Rockabilly session with Carl Perkins and friends. Tonight on Cinemax.
A young man ready to change the world.
You'll be receiving and transmitting correspondence designated top secret.
Another ready to self-destruct.
I don't know who my friends are anymore. I don't know who to trust.
Together they become the most wanted men in America, and their story is true.
I had no idea. The level of deception. So you're a spy. You want to be partners? I'm offering you a partnership.
Asesinato.
I am not.
We waited a very long time to meet you.
How much money did you receive from the Russians?
Leave your bags behind. We're going to get on the plane.
Timothy Hutton is Christopher Boyce.
I want out. It's got to stop.
Sean Penn is Andrew Dalton Lee.
This is a business, Chris. We've got to expand.
You're sick.
They challenge the system, but the system is fighting back. And time is running out for The Falcon and the Snowman, a true story, and a Cinemax exclusive premiere. Saturday.
Lower! Lower! Keep going! A little more. Whoa, that's just fine. You look terrific today.
Cinemax. Gotcha.
I had no idea that
this would work.
Really?
Really?
It's Max.
The following movie has been rated PG by the Motion Picture Association of America. Parental guidance is suggested.